overthrow the Sultan 6 times. So, like a bully, Turkey retaliated in mass. Okay? In 1915, it's more of a conflict. Turkey and Turks will exaggerate and say more Turks were killed in the fighting from 1915 to 1923 than Armenians. They do have a responsibility toward the Armenians. Okay? But to pattern itself as a Jewish Holocaust, which essentially they have done, and they were pushed by the British intelligence, is a distortion of history. My point is, and this is what the Armenians don't like, is that more Kurds killed Armenians than Turks. The Turks did terrible things to the Armenians. They butchered people right and left, they raped and they pillaged, but it wasn't an organized act by the regime. It was a byproduct of hate. Okay? The Turks did terrible things to the Greek Orthodox, especially in 1922 in Izmir. To call that a Holocaust and a genocide, when you're equating it with the Jewish Holocaust, is a distortion. Academically today, if 100 people have been killed in a planned massacre, you can call that a genocide. Okay, but the issue here is it an attempt to wipe out an entire people? And the Armenians had a state afterward, after all of this, not in the historic areas of the Armenian kingdoms from the past, but in what became the Soviet Union. Then the Soviet Union essentially threw them out, and then they have an independent state today. A lot of what the Armenians do is not commemoration. They don't have Holocaust music. They take a tramp on the Jews. The question I have is, why aren't the Armenians giving millions of dollars all over the world to establish Armenian genocide centers? Right? Whereas they're just interested in provoking. Okay? They're active amongst themselves. But to threaten a few Jewish scholars, a few Jewish historians, is not the way to deal with it, because we have a different opinion of what happened. No Ottoman scholar is going to give legitimacy to any murder that a Turk did. And after the war, the Turks did put 1,800 people on trial. Okay, that wasn't enough. But to equate all this with the Jewish Holocaust is an aberration of history. And I think it was 1994, we had the second International Holocaust Conference of the Churches of the Holocaust, with over 500 people in Berlin. The Armenians tried to take over the stage and demand that the Armenian issue get an equal footing. And this isn't the way. It's not the way. Okay. At Holocaust conferences we talk about Armenia, we talk about Rwanda, but to strong-arm it and distort it is problematic. And in retaliation for what the Jews did as loyal Ottoman citizens, in 1901, the Armenians had a blood libel against the Jews in Istanbul. And there was what was called the 1909 Adana riots, where in the Ottoman Empire you have to pay homage to the sovereign. So at the beginning of the Easter ceremony, the Armenians didn't say the hymn to the Sultan. So unjustly, the Ottomans killed 30,000 Armenians. But what's the catch here? But the Armenians blamed the Jews for this. And they publicized throughout the world that the Jews were guilty. Okay? Now how, if anyone knowing this, would use the Armenians as a symbol for Jewish resistance? Okay? In 1915, in the Yeshuv in Eretz Israel, when the Turks were ignoring the Jews and things were deteriorating, the Jews had a mystique about the Armenian victim. It wasn't based primarily on first-hand information. It was based on someone who was in the Turkish army, who came back and heard about some atrocity, and so now you have someone named what's his name, Oron, who Oron, who makes a whole big tzimis, as we say, a whole big issue out of the sympathy of the Jewish people for the Armenian genocide, and they exaggerate to the point where they say you can't be a Jew if you don't believe that the Armenian genocide was a genocide. Okay, I mean, this is too far. They've stretched it too far, and there's an importance for a scholarly debate and a public debate and awareness of what happened to the Armenians. But the Armenians' efforts, in a lot of ways, is very hokey and very far-fetched. I was also part of the process which canceled a book that the Armenians wanted to push through for the Israeli educational system, to have a book on the Armenian genocide. And it was rejected by myself, rejected by another Sephardic historian, it was rejected by the head of the educational department at Yad Vashem and the head of the educational department at Hebrew University. Okay, it wasn't a sound thing. Okay.
What was the book, and what was wrong with the book? Why?
It was just propaganda. It wasn't something that was scholarly based. And see, a Sephardic Jew will not, based on some of the things I've said, will not look at the Armenian conflict like he'll look at the Jewish Holocaust. Okay? And remember, the Jews in the Ottoman Empire bore the brunt of the Armenians and the Greek Orthodox. So, for the Jews to, out of ignorance, to elevate the importance of the Armenian catastrophe, genocide, with the Jews and the Jews' Holocaust is a distortion. And, the question is, what do the Armenians think about the Jews? Okay? Do they have the classical anti-Semitic polemical views of the Jew? They need the Jew as a scapegoat? Let's hear about all the blood libels that the Armenians have been involved in against the Jews. Okay? That puts this in a different perspective, because the Jews, when studying the Holocaust, look at the precedents of anti-Semitism in Christian society. So what are the precedents for Armenian hate and Greek Orthodox hate toward the Jews? Okay? And why the Jews were such a small number in the areas where they lived, mainly because of assimilation, but also because these were not the ideal conditions to live in. And in the Holocaust, there were only 3 righteous Gentiles from Armenia. That's an indication that the Jews were not very well liked. But the Jews, even in the Vilna ghetto, made the Armenians out to be a symbol of the underdog, based on the perception of what happened in World War I from what the few written accounts said in Palestine. And the issues historically are, how can you call one catastrophe a genocide if you have 7 or 8 or 9 parallel catastrophes? What did the Greeks do to the Macedonians? And what did the Ottomans do to Bulgarians and vice versa? Okay, what did the Ottomans do to the Serbs? And what did the Ottomans do to the Croatians? And you have hundreds of years of forced conversions, and this is why all these things are loaded issues. So, Turkey just didn't decide overnight to react to the Armenians. You have this provocation of attempts to overthrow the throne, and eventually the Ottoman Empire also decayed. Countries wanted their independence. Greece had its independence in various stages. It wasn't on one shot. It took Greece a few stages to reach the dimensions it reached, and Greece was too thirsty to get to the boundaries